It's time for Straight Talk Live with renowned radio pioneer Edna Howell-Parrish, the television show and podcast dedicated to presenting thought-provoking issues and opinions with the goal of challenging listeners to re-examine their assumptions and expand their opinions and give thought to new ideas and concepts to better their lives and the lives of others. This is your opportunity to participate in making the world better. So without further ado, let's get ready for Straight Talk Live with your host Edna Howell-Parrish.
Hello, and welcome to the show. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever time you're watching the show, we're so glad to have you here. It's a pleasure to have our guest on the show today, and I have been chatting with him. We have been learning a lot about each other, but especially from him. You know, the election is over. Most votes have been tabulated, but the votes in Hamilton County were certified this week, but there was no doubt before certification that our guest was the winner of his race. Meet Senate District 6 State Senator-elect Willis Blackshear. Good afternoon and welcome to the show.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me.
No doubt that you won.
No doubt.
You know, I was looking through many of the articles about you, and I kept seeing this headline that said, Senator flips the Senate seat. Blackshear wins, flips Ohio Senate seat. What does flipping that Ohio Senate seat mean?
Yeah, so what it means is that, you know, this district has been represented by a Republican, honestly, for over a decade. And me being a Democrat, I came in and I flipped the seat from red to blue.
From red to blue.
Yeah.
What difference will that make?
Well, and it will make a difference in terms of some of the policies I advocate for, some of the things that I would like to see done, not only in District 6, but in the state of Ohio. So there'll be a big difference from some of the things that my predecessors have advocated for and have done in the state.
Politics is not new to you. You already were a state representative. And then you won the senatorial seat. How difficult was that, or was that your goal to come out and just challenge and win?
So it wasn't my goal to actually be in the Senate. Honestly, it wasn't even my goal to be in the State House. I mean, I have to take it way back to 1992. I come from a family.
92.
That was a great year. So I come from a family of public servants. So my mom was pregnant with me, and my dad at the time was running for priority board president. And the doctor told my mom, hey, you need to get up and walk to get this baby out of you. My dad thought it was a great idea to have my mom go knock doors and campaign for him for priority board president. So I was born November 1st, 1992. And a couple days later was the November election. So my father actually got elected to priority board president, and Bill Clinton was elected president. So I like to consider myself a democracy baby. So being in public office wasn't something that I always dreamed of actually accomplishing. I always wanted to make a difference, but I thank God for using me as a vessel to be able to be in such a space and in such a time as this.
Indeed. I want to say a happy belated birthday to you, by the way. And for those people that are watching and listening this afternoon, join the chat. We have a chat line, and you can give Willis Blackshear a birthday greeting or congratulate him on becoming the new senator-elect in our area and district. Chat line is open for you as well. Now, let's go back to you winning this district. Now, who was in the position on the Republican side? I understand that he didn't do such a good job in that position as a senator for the district?
Yeah, I mean, you've seen articles. Of course, people have expressed their grievances in the work that he's done these last few years. Naraj Antani, that's who currently, until December 31st, holds this position. So that's whose seat that we flipped from red to blue.
I did read some articles, and some communities were having meetings and wanting him to resign. So now that he's gone and you're in that position, you've got some big shoes to fill, maybe not.
I would say, being a public servant, holding public office, it's always big shoes to fill because, we work on behalf of the people. And we have to just make sure that we're doing everything we can to make sure we're being the best representatives in these prestigious seats as possible. So I believe it's big shoes to fill because, people are, wanting change and people are finally going to get that. So it's big shoes to fill in the sense of now this is where the real work begins. Now, I've already been doing this work as a state representative, but now with me representing a bigger district, different municipalities, more municipalities in this district, it's going to be some big shoes to fill.
Now, you say your father was also involved in politics. Besides winning that priority board race way back in 1992, he continued to work and he did serve the community in the Hamilton County District. Let's talk about what he did.
Yeah, so he was, of course, priority board president. He also worked in the Montgomery County Treasurer's office. So he helped save people's homes. He did a lot of great work to help people in Montgomery County. So 2006, he got appointed as Montgomery County Recorder. And he was actually the first African American. Then he got elected in 2008, reelected in 2012, reelected again in 2016. But he passed away in 2018 from cancer, sadly. And I feel like he had a lot more work that he planned on trying to do, but his time was unfortunately cut short. But I guess I can say I picked up the mantle, and I'm trying to continue some of that great work that he did in the community.
What do you think Dad would be thinking about you today?
I think Dad will be very happy. He'll be very proud. I mean, he said it from the very beginning, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. And I would just look at him and laugh. Okay, no, that's going to be you. We're going to leave it up to you. I'm going to be behind the scenes and I'm going to be supportive. Because I never was one of those people that wanted to be or needed to be front and center. I just always wanted to serve. I've always wanted to serve. So whatever that looked like, I was just happy to be in the space of service. So he spoke it all into existence. So, I sometimes reflect and be like, man, as a kid, you tend not to listen to your parents. But then as you get older, they were right about X, Y, and Z. So I'm here to say he was right about a lot of things that is currently taking place.
I want to go back to your past, high school, Trotwood High School, your alma mater high school. And you said on a career day, your principal asked you, where's your suit? And you said to him what?
So on career day, I was in 8th grade. I had a jumpsuit on. My aspirations was to be a basketball player. And I'll never forget, my principal pulled me aside and he was like, where's your suit at? I was like, what you mean with my suit? I want to be a basketball player. And he looked at me in my face. He was like, you're not going to be a basketball player. I'm like, well, I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm going to be a basketball player. I'm going to be an athlete. But he told me what my life was going to turn out to be. I was going to be wearing a suit. And he said, you got great things ahead of you. And at the time, I didn't understand. And athletes, they do great things. Athletes do great things. But he was like,
yes.
What you're doing is not going to be with a basketball. So he's seen it as well.
That was a long time ago. And so now you're serving and ready to be sworn into office. So when is your swearing in for the senatorial office?
So I'm going to do a swearing in sometime in December, but then my official swearing in is January 6th.
So who will take your place as a state representative?
Desiree Timms. she'll be succeeding me as state rep elect.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Well, I know that you're going to be in that position. What are you ready to do? Now, I was reading something where you were saying you were going to stand up to Republican extremism. What did you face, or what did you see about Republican extremism? What is that?
Well, I think as a state, and I mean, we've seen it around the country, you know, there are policies that are being signed into law day in and day out that, in a sense, go against what majority of not only Ohioans, but Americans would like to see. I do believe that we do see a lot of far right policies that are being implemented, and people are just like, enough is enough. So since being in the legislature, I've stood up to Republican extremism in terms of, you know, school funding, reproductive freedoms, you know, the list goes on and on. I've been on the front lines just trying to be the voice of the I don't want to say the voices, because I believe everybody has a voice, but a voice for those who, you know, may not have a seat at the table.
I know reproductive freedom was one of the big issues on the national level during this past presidential election. Ohio is pretty safe when it comes to reproductive freedoms.
No, we've seen policy being passed that are, you know, that is chipping away at reproductive freedoms. I mean, we had a 6-week abortion ban, and that was put in place, but it got reversed by the court. So, you know, there's legislation currently trying to be passed, legislation that has already been passed, and legislation that is coming down the pipeline to take away that reproductive freedom.
Interesting. We'll jump over to the presidential election with Donald Trump and Project 2025. A lot of those rules are going to be brought into play in his administration already as he selects his cabinet. We see some of the picks have been really, I'll say strange. I don't know if you can say it or not, but truly, I think that they will stop at nothing to get many of those things done, you know, when it comes to big changes made. How will that affect you, some of the proposed things that are coming down the pike?
Well, I'll say a lot of the federal legislation has influence on a lot of the state legislation. But I've been telling people since day one, even on the campaign trail, you know, we're seeing many Project 2025s in state legislatures around the country. So a lot of this stuff is nothing new, but more so now is being put in the light. A light has now been shined on a lot of these things that Republicans are trying to do.
Indeed. Well, and one big thing, dismantling of the education department. What I think is being proposed is that the states would take on a lot more of the education for high school and elementary schools, and maybe the government would handle more of the college level. How do you see that funding and some of the rules and regulations being administered and helped by the Senate and the national level?
So, you know, Project 2025 is a lot to unpack. It's a lot.
Yes.
To unpack.
Oh yes.
And I encourage everybody just take a look at it. Even if you're looking at bullet points, take a look at some of the things that they're trying to implement. I mean, from civil rights, the Department of Education, climate and the economy, reproductive freedoms, you know, putting corporations over workers. You know, it's a lot to unpack. But when I think about education, you know, I think, you know, education is a foundation of the world. I think we all can point back to a teacher, an educator, an administrator that has played a major part in our lives. And, you know, that's where a lot of us, that's where all of us, in a sense, got our foundations from, was the schools. And to see the dismantle of the Department of Education and, you know, education systems around the country is very disheartening. It's very disheartening, and I don't believe that's something that needs to happen.
Okay. Returning common sense to the state house. Have you said that?
Sorry, you froze for a second. Say that again.
I was saying, one of your goals and things that you had on your agenda was returning common sense to the State House. What is something that happened that showed that there was not common sense being used?
Well, I believe we need to get back to, the kitchen table issues, high cost of living, healthcare, education, public safety. The list goes on, and I believe that we've at times have gone too far away from that. And Ohioans, Americans, they want us to get back to the basic. How are you going to help me put food on the table? How are you going to help bring jobs into the communities? How are you going to help educate my children, my children's children? I mean, list goes on and on, my family members. People want us to find solutions to the problems that they're dealing with every day. And I believe there has been a lot of culture wars. I believe that we have seen a lot of polarization in our state. We've seen it, in federal government, and people are sick and tired of being sick and tired. They want us to get back to the basics. How can we lower the cost of, property taxes? How can we bring jobs to the community? How can we improve our roads and bridges? They want us to find solutions to that. And far too long, you see social media, newspaper, on the news. It's a lot of culture issues that are being pushed to the forefront, but then also issues that everyday Ohioans, everyday Americans deal with are getting pushed further and further to the back. And, people are, getting tired, and they want to see something change.
The Democrats during this national election did fairly well, and there's a lot of problems, a lot of issues. How do you think that they could do? What can they do to improve and win more elections, or maybe regain the White House again?
I think this goes from the local level, state, and the federal level. I think we have to talk about a lot of our wins more. We have to be able to communicate, hey, when we're in office, this is what we've been able to accomplish. I don't think we talk about our wins as much as we should. Of course, during election time, you talk about, well, hey, I've done X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, like me, I'll be able to do this and do that, and I'll be able to sustain some of the work that we've already been doing. But I believe that we have to have those continued conversations throughout the year. Whenever, we accomplish something, let's pat ourselves on the back and let's talk to, everyday Ohioans. Let's talk to everyday Americans. Hey, this is what we've been doing. This is how we're helping you. This is how we're helping your pocketbook. This is how we're helping your communities. We have to talk about that more. We have to, because a lot of times we let, our competitors or Republicans. Now, during election time, of course, we all have to work together. Let me just be clear. But we let people create this narrative about what is and isn't happening. And I believe that we need to jump in and create that narrative for ourselves. Because a lot of times it slips through our fingers, and then we wonder why is this a narrative for us? We need to create that own narrative. We need to talk about our wins a little bit more.
Our guest this afternoon, Willis Blackshear, Jr., State Senator-elect, talking with us this afternoon about his campaign. What was it like out there during this political season, out there on the campaign trail? People that you met, people that were happy to see you, people that didn't know you. So pretty much you went over the whole district. How was it out there?
It was pretty good. A lot of people were optimistic. I will say things changed once President Biden decided to step down, which I commend him for. I commend him for that. I mean, a lot of people's ego wouldn't have allowed them to do what he did. And of course, we could talk about how folks are saying he should have stepped down earlier. I just commend him for doing it in general, because I understand that probably was a tough decision. So I did see the change in people's tones, people's attitudes, the optimism that people had. I did see that. But it was pretty good. It was pretty good. Of course, people are like, hey, this is what's going on in my household. This is what's going on in my community. I'm getting sick and tired of politicians coming around during election time saying, hey, vote for me. Things are going to change. People are very blunt. People are real. And that's one thing that I pride myself in being somebody who is accessible, somebody who meets people where they are. That's important. And people know me in the sense of he doesn't just show up around election time. He shows up day in and day out to not only hear our concerns, but also to offer solutions to what's going on in my household and what's going on in my communities. So we had some honest conversations and at times hard conversations about, what's going on in our communities. And I will talk about some of the things that as Democrats and as a state we've done to try to make their lives better. But of course, more needs to be done. A lot of people didn't want to vote. They were like, we're told to vote, but yet nothing changes. And I tell them, well, what do you think will happen if you don't vote? Things will continue not to change. And that's why we need to have elected leaders in office who understand and care, and most importantly, show up. That's the thing. I've been to places all over the district, all over the state, where folks were like, wow, you're the first politician who has actually showed up and who actually has come to listen, and also to get an earful about some of the things we would like to see done and some of the things we're not happy about. And that's why I said, well, that's why it's important to elect people like myself who's going to be here, not only when it's election time, but who's going to show up even after election time to be there for you, because I work for you.
Right. So what is the difference, or what difference can you make from having been a state representative going into the Senate now? How different will it be in terms of the work that you'll do?
It will still be the same, but here's the thing. So as a state representative, I'm 1 in 99. As a state senator, I'm 1 in 33. Now, granted, in order to get things done and get things signed into law, each chamber has to work with each other. But in order for me to craft that legislation, to get some committee hearings, to get some support, I would be able to go through less people, going through 32 outside of myself, outside of going through 98 other personalities, different people. It can be a little challenging. So with that being said, I will be able to, work with less people in the sense of getting it through the Senate and whatever changes we have to make. But then once we get over to the House, making sure that, we're on one accord with everybody over there, just so we can make sure it gets to the governor's desk and sign into law. But then also too, like funding, the Senate has its own pot that we go through, and we work with the House as well. So I think, long story short, I know I got a little long-winded. Long story short, I believe that I'll be able to have a little bit more influence in terms of what I'll be able to get done for the area.
Long-winded is good because sometimes we don't understand, and a lot of times I ask questions, and it is because sometimes I really don't understand as well. How is the money divvied up between the different districts, and does it depend on the number of people in the district? How much tax money that comes out? How does that work?
Population size. So usually the 3 C's, Cincinnati, Cleveland, and Columbus, they get a big pot of the money because of their population size. And then, you got Summit County, which is like Akron. You got Montgomery County, like the Dayton area. We get our piece of the pie. But of course, everybody could do with more. We got a lot of projects. We got a lot of organizations that really desperately need the funding. So just trying to figure out what the priorities are and figuring out how to divvy up that money. But it really starts at advocating for the initial pot of funds. And then once we get that initial pot, depending on what it is, we figure out, okay, what are our high priorities and what needs the funding immediately, and what needs the funding, not necessarily immediately, but where can we also too sprinkle a few dollars here, sprinkle a few dollars there, because of course you have organizations, cities, townships, they always need more, which is understandable because the issues that they're dealing with, of course, they see firsthand, like, hey, we really need this to be taken care of.
Do you see some hot pocket issues that you really want to jump in right away and start working on from our district?
Housing. I think housing is at the top of the list because, when we talk about education, we talk about bringing jobs into the community. Housing is at the center of that. So we definitely have to make sure that we are revitalizing our communities. We have to make sure that those, structures that may need to be torn down, we're having adequate funding to be able to tear down those structures and being able to rebuild what was once lost. So I think housing, because once you think about housing, now we can bring jobs in. Now people have a place to live, and everybody wants to live in a safe, clean, functioning community. And then I believe that is the domino effect to affect our schools as well.
I know Montgomery County Commissioner Judy Dodge, I had her on the show before the election, and she was talking about the goal. They had new jobs coming into the area. They already had earmarked, but they didn't have the workers. Do you see any education or training for technologically for new workers to come into the area? You see anything happening in that area? Are you working with Sinclair College and Cincinnati State Technical College?
Yeah, so we're seeing a lot of that happening in Montgomery County. The city of Dayton is doing a great job. DPS, a lot of local schools as well. We have labor unions as well that is on the front lines helping with that fight. A lot more needs to be done with workforce development. We have to get in these schools. We have to get in these high schools, and I think it's very important that we expose our kids to careers of today and also the careers of tomorrow. I understand that college isn't for everybody. A lot of folks want to just go straight into the workforce. A lot of people want to get a trade. A lot of people want to go into the military. But we have to make sure we are exposing and creating an avenue for our youth to take advantage of. But then also, too, we have to make sure that the workforce that we have currently, we are training them. We are retraining them to take over for the jobs of today and the jobs of tomorrow, to be able to say, like, hey, this is our workforce. Bring your company here or keep your company here. We'll be able to sustain and also do great things to help it grow.
Indeed. So you are going to be sworn in office very soon. A lot of things that you're going to have on your agenda. We want to talk about those as well. We're going to take a break right now. When we come back, I'll have some things I want to ask you about the immigrants from Haiti that are in Springfield. You had something to say about that during that issue when that was a pretty hot issue, and talk about some of the funds that you have brought into the area to help out the Dayton Boys and Girls Clubs, YWCA, and that kind of thing. We'll be back after this with our guest, Willis Blackshear Jr., State Senator-elect.
Edna Howell-Parrish, former radio personality and pioneer, began her radio career at WCXM with her Jazz Kaleidoscope show in Dayton, Ohio. In 1977 and 1979, she began serving at WAVI-AM and WDAO-FM in several positions, including News and Public Affairs Director. Edna was also the editor of the Soul Sophisticator newspaper at WDAO from 1980 to 1986. In 1986, she became News and Public Affairs Director at WCIN AM in Cincinnati, and then went on to anchor news for a short time at WSAI in Cincinnati. In 1989, Edna was named News Public Affairs Director at WIZF-FM and WDBZ 1230 AM, where she served for 12 years, and hosted a weekday show, Straight Talk Live, in Cincinnati on WIZF. After working for WAKW 93.3 FM, a Christian station in Cincinnati, Edna relocated to Atlanta for her husband's job and was hired as news anchor and public affairs director at V103 FM. Her next move was to Austin, Texas, where she anchored news and traffic for Metro Networks. Edna returned to the Dayton-Cincinnati tri-state after years away from Dayton, returning to care for several family members who were ill.
I've been able to connect with her because everything about her was everything I wanted to be. She has always been the consummate professional. In addition to that, very well respected, and definitely not only an icon, but an image maker that I chose to pattern my career after. Watching Edna grow, she has been an amazing lighthouse in so many communities that she chose to work in. She reinvents herself, and she tells a story, a great story. Not just an African American story, but an American woman story in media. And I tell you, it's a great story.
Edna has covered heartbreaking news stories locally and major news stories, such as the Democratic National Presidential Conventions, the Million Man March in Washington, D.C., and the Million Women March in Philadelphia. She helped raise thousands of dollars for scholarships, as well as created many programs to help in the rehabilitation of men and women in prison. In 2014, the Cincinnati Enquirer newspaper honored Edna in the prestigious gallery of the Next Best Top 40 radio personalities from the last 40 years on Cincinnati radio since 1973. In 1993, Edna was the recipient of the Great Rivers Girl Scout Council's Women of Distinction Award in Cincinnati. Edna Howell-Parrish is truly a broadcast pioneer, and the Dayton Area Broadcasters Hall of Fame is pleased to welcome her into the class of 2022.
And we're back to Issues and Opinions with Edna and Friends, and our friend today is Senator-elect, State Senator-elect from Ohio, Willis Blackshear Jr. Welcome back to the show.
Yes, glad to be back.
So glad to have you here. You became the first Democratic state senator to represent the city in over a decade, from what I understand. What difference is that going to make for us?
Yeah, so I believe it's going to make a big difference. So this district that I will be representing, historically has been represented by Republicans, but then there was another district that was represented by Democrats. So we haven't had a Democratic representative senator for over a decade. So a lot of things will change in terms of some of the policies that I advocate for, some of the things that I like to see done in our community. So I think that's where the big difference will be. Now, granted, I work for everybody, Democrats, Republicans, Independents, Green Party, you name it. So I want to do what's best for District 6 and Ohio as a whole.
One of the situations that I understand that you announced a new Ohio mobile ID. What was that about?
Yeah, so that idea actually came from a constituent. She lost her ID, and of course we understand some of the things that you have to go through to get a new ID. So she was like, we should make it easier for people who may have lost or misplaced their ID. I've done it before where I've gone places and forgot my ID. So she was like, we should probably have a digital ID here in Ohio. Now, there are other states that currently have that. Ohio was not one of them at the time. So I drafted some legislation, and after having numerous conversations with interested parties, we realized this is something we'll be able to do from an administrative side. So I'm proud to say that is something that Ohio now has. And since being implemented, tens of thousands of people have signed up to get a digital ID.
So where do they sign up for that at?
So you will go to the BMV. You can get it through there. Also, too, I can share this. Well, I'll make sure I share it. You can go to the state website. You can sign up for it through there.
So this mobile ID can be used at a TSA airport checkouts and different business situations. Will it help with voter registration?
It does not currently help with voter registration. We're going back to the drawing board to make sure that when individuals do go to vote, they're able to present a digital ID. I mean, I feel like it's only right that folks should be able to have a digital ID. Like I said, we've been able to get this implemented through the administration, so there's no reason why we can't take it a step further and allow folks to use their digital ID to be able to vote.
Now, the back to school tax-free holiday happens right before school starts every year. Where does that tax-free money come from, or how does it help the citizens, or is the state losing money by doing that?
No, so it's like paying it forward. When people go back to school, the kids have to get their supplies, and we understand that a lot of families are struggling to be able to get those book bags and those pencils, erasers. So just helping our families, at a time where they may need it the most, making sure that our kids are ready for the first day of school.
Now, when it comes to violence in our communities, police have a hard time. Here's the state legislative members are trying to work with police and community with this gun violence. Anything in the area being done to try to help keep our community safer?
Well, I know the city has been working on things. I know other municipalities as well have put things in place. But, our state, there's a lot more that needs to be done. Common sense gun legislation, I believe, needs to be passed and signed into law to help our cities, to help our states, which will essentially help our neighborhoods, our communities. I believe gun violence has become something that's far too common. What we've seen throughout these years is uncommon. It's not normal. And I believe that we need to make our take our best foot forward to help curb a lot of the gun violence. I mean, I've lost family members to gun violence. We had a mass shooting here in the area. You see it on TV all the time. Mass shooting here, mass shooting there, but you never would have thought that it would happen in your backyard. That actually happened in my backyard. And I remember it just like it was yesterday. And all the people wanted was for something to be done. And, nothing has been done. But if anything, the complete opposite has been done. We have loosened gun laws to make it a little bit easier for anybody to get guns. And I want to just tell a quick story. We actually had a shooting a couple of months ago. 12-year-old girl shot and killed. Bullet came through the house and it struck her. That girl was actually at my church that Sunday before she passed. Just think about it. A young girl that's full of life, full of dreams and aspirations, cut short because of gun violence. And I think these stories are being told far too often. And I think something needs to be done to stop it from happening.
I know the shooting in the Oregon district, a tragedy, 11 people killed. Is that just still open? I mean, nothing's done. What can we do? People are not going to give up guns. People aren't going to give up their guns.
And here's the thing: we're not telling people, and this has always been the argument, and this is how the argument around guns has been polarized. We're not trying to take people's guns away. We're just trying to make sure that those who should not have a gun, they're not in possession of it. Think about the First Amendment, because I'm gonna start talking about the Second Amendment. Think about the First Amendment, freedom of speech. You can't run into a movie theater. You can't run into a public space and say, "Hey, I have a bomb. It's a fire." You can't go in there and do that. Right. So as we see with the First Amendment, there is responsibility around it. So why can't we have any responsibility around the Second Amendment? We're not trying to take people's guns away, but I think everybody can agree we know people who shouldn't be in a possession of a gun. We know that. So why not put parameters in place to prevent them from getting a gun? Why can't we have universal background checks? Why can't we have these red flag laws? Just making sure, okay, if you want to purchase a gun, just making sure you check all the boxes. And once you check all the boxes here, there you go. Be a responsible gun owner. But for far too long, we've seen irresponsible gun owners, and we're seeing it in our neighborhoods.
You told me that you were interested in working with the school districts and children around the issue of mental health opportunity days for students. I think they need it. I think teachers need it too.
Yeah, they need it as well. But the thing with a teacher, they're able to take a day off. Whereas a student, you know, if they take a day off, that is, it's not an unexcused absence. So we have to make sure that these kids are able to get excused absences, because guess what? We all work jobs that, you know what, I need a break. I need a break. Yeah. So why isn't a child able to say, hey, I need to just take a step back? You know, growing up, whenever we had issues, it was go to sleep, you'll be fine once you wake up. But those issues were present in our lives. And I think we need to give our students, our kids, a space where they're able to express like, hey, I'm not feeling the best. And, you know, by me going to a lot of different school districts and talking to the students and the teachers, this is something that they so desperately need and so desperately want. And I think it's something that we need to definitely take care of, because what happens is that, and I say this all the time, as a legislature, not only in Ohio, but in the country, we are more so reactive besides being proactive. And I think it's a lot of things that we can take care of on the front end that will prevent a lot of the issues we see on the back end. And I think, you know, the issue around mental health, if we can take care of that on the front end, a lot of things on the back end in terms of, you know, grades slipping, you know, things happening that shouldn't happen. I believe that we can prevent that by implementing legislation that could help, you know, our kids, our youth's mental health.
And you mentioned common sense. That's common sense right there. That's common sense. Yes. It makes good sense. It makes good sense. Now, you were able to bring some money to Montgomery County for the Brownfield remediation program. Talk about the Brownfield. What is that, and how would that money, that sum for $2 million be used for?
So, you know, as you look around the county, you look around the state, we have properties that are, you don't want to have a business or a home over it because, you know, may have had toxins, or it's just not a place where we want people to be at. So, you know, with the Brownfield cleanup, we're able to bring people in to clean up that property. And then now folks are able to come in to build on it. Maybe folks may want to live. I don't know, whatever they want to make use of that property for. So I believe that it's important and imperative that, you know, besides leaving these properties just stagnant, besides leaving these properties just sitting and nothing's being done, I believe that we definitely do need to have that cleanup take place so we can utilize that piece of land. So what we've seen throughout the state, you know, for counties who have received that funding, they're collaborating with their cities, they're collaborating with their townships to identify some of the places that need that cleanup to take place. So that cleanup is happening. And then now what are we going to do to make best use of this property?
How is the division between what is city responsibility, what is county responsibility, what is state responsibility?
Well, that's a great question. That's a great question. A lot of times you see the disconnect because, you know, what the city may want to see, the county may not want to see. And then, of course, what the county may want to see, the state may not want to see for that county. And I think it's important that, you know, we all have the same goal. We all have the same mission, but we have to make sure that we are working together to implement that and do what's best for the citizens who reside in our cities and in our counties and ultimately our state. A lot of times there's a disconnect, but, you know, I'm a firm believer in listening to the experts. You know, you have people who I like to say are the boots on the ground. You know, there's no reason why I should try to tell a teacher or admin, you know, what you need to do or what should be happening. I need to be listening, and I can give suggestions about what should be happening, but I also need to listen to see what are the issues that you are all dealing with. Because guess what? I'm in Columbus. You know, I deal with issues not only in Montgomery County, but, you know, Hamilton, Franklin, Cuyahoga, Greene County, because essentially they come to us with a lot of their issues and, hey, we need assistance with X, Y, and Z. Well, it's up to us to take heed of what they're saying and say, okay, we can help you with funding with this. Okay, we can help draft legislation to help you, because you're not the only ones going through this. And, you know, you see different cities, different townships going through some of the same things. But what happens is that disconnect, and you see there are different priorities that each entity of government may have. But I think it's imperative, and I think it's important that we come to the table and figure out what's best for our residents.
Now, during the height of the election campaign season, a big issue was discussed that happened in Springfield. Haitians there invited to work. Were there legally, and so much was said about them in the negative. They were eating cats and dogs, spread by our president and vice president, and they knew it wasn't true. You know, you would think there would be laws against that, but it got out of control. It really did. You had something to say about that.
Politicians doing political things. I think that's what we've seen, not only during this election cycle, but throughout the years, fear mongering. You know, even the governor said these folks are here legally. They are here working. Yeah. They are productive citizens. They are taxpayers. They are helping our communities. The lies that were being spewed about these people, it put them in danger, and ultimately it put our city officials in danger as well. And you know, that costs a lot of money. It costs a lot of money, and guess who has to pay for that? The taxpayers. And what was it all for? You know, a lot of these people didn't even know some of these people even here until now. You got people all over the country calling, making threats, but then also too, I will say, you've seen a community come together. You've seen a community come together because we know firsthand these are productive, working citizens here, who are here legally, who are here to help grow our community, who are here doing the jobs that a lot of people probably wouldn't do. And that's the thing. And even some of the workers, not even the workers, but the bosses, the owners, a lot of these companies and a lot of these entities, they were like, listen, leave them alone. They're doing a great job.
What role do you think that the immigrants play in America? Do you think that with the president-elect's plan to get rid of a lot of the immigrants and send them out, you know, returning them, do you think that's going to be possible? Do you think that's the right thing to do?
We have a lot of legal immigrants that are here in America that are productive individuals, people who are at times doing some of the hard jobs. They work hard. They just want a shot at the American dream. They want better for themselves and they want better for their families. You know, so for people to say they want them to leave, what are we going to do to replace them? That's the thing. You know, these people don't bother people. These people are here just trying to make a living. And listen, we all understand there are bad actors. There are. I mean, that's with everybody. There are bad actors. But to try to generalize and characterize everybody for the things that the few have done, I think is very disheartening. And I think it has put a lot of fear in a lot of people who have made America their home.
It is a shame. It's such a shame. And I know that there, like you say, the people that are immigrants in this country, they are working, and many, they pay taxes. They pay Social Security, which many of them will never be able to benefit from that. I know we spend a lot to have them here, but they're also making money as well. And a lot of people don't know that. People think they're just here, just living off of everybody else, but they are working and they do produce. So I hate to see a lot happen, the families broken up, children divided from their parents. It's gonna be a mess. I use that word. It's gonna be a mess if that happens, and and when it does. How prepared are you?
I don't think
Are
any
you
of us
prepared for that to happen?
I don't think any of us is prepared because you got to think about this. This is something that has never happened. Now, there obviously has been talks about this potentially happen, but for it to actually be on the verge of being implemented, I don't think we understand the consequences, the ramifications that we will see if this is something that actually happens.
What do you like best about Montgomery County, Dayton area?
Oh, I mean, it's my hometown, so I can brag about it a lot. But I think, for the Dayton area, the Gem City, there are a lot of gems that have been seen, but there also is a lot of hidden gems that have yet to be discovered. The culture, the food, I mean, the people, the entertainment, you name it. We have a lot to offer here in Montgomery County, and I'm just proud to be from this phenomenal area. Of course, things have changed throughout the years, but I tell people all the time, the best is yet to come. I've been able to experience the best since living here, and of course, things have changed. But I tell people the best is yet to come. We have so much to offer. I believe that we are moving in the right direction. There are a lot of things that needs to be done. I mean, I agree with everybody. There are things that needs to be done to better our community, but I'm here to say, we have those elected officials who are in place who are doing the work day in and day out, like myself, to make those dreams become a reality in terms of what they want to see this community become.
As a state senator, will you be in Columbus more than you have been as a state representative, or will it just be about the same amount of time in Columbus as you've spent here?
I'll be in Columbus just a little bit more because I'll have more responsibilities, but my priority has always been being here for the people here in Montgomery County, because these are the people that sent me there. So I didn't go get elected to the state senate just to hide away in Columbus. I went there to go do the job that they sent me to go do, but then also too making sure that I'm showing my face at these community events, having town halls, hosting office hours, for people just to come see, talk about some of the good things they're seeing, even some of the bad things. And, that's what it's all about, just making sure that I am accessible and available to the people who elected me to go represent them.
You'll be in the Senate chambers in Columbus. Where will your office be here in your district?
Yeah, so I currently have an office here at the arcade. People can schedule a time to come sit down and talk to me. I like to meet at our local libraries, coffee shops, donut shops, you name it. We can go grab a bite to eat somewhere. I pride myself in being somebody, I will meet you where you are, even if it's on your front porch. I'm here to listen. I'm here to be there for you, because guess what? I work for you. And I think that's very important that people understand, politicians work for you. It's not the other way around. You don't work for politicians. Politicians work for you. So I make myself available and accessible as possible.
And that's so true, because I've watched your Facebook page, and I mean, you are everywhere. I mean, I can believe all the places that you're at, ice cream socials and fishing tournaments and all over the community. It is amazing and good to see you out there working as a young man in our community. What are your aspirations for politics or for your future?
Well, I'm just grateful to be of service. I'm grateful that the people here, Montgomery County, decided to take another chance on me. They took a chance on me in 2020, and they took another chance on me in 2022, and they took another chance on me in 2024. And I'm just grateful and blessed, and I thank God for continuing to use me as a vessel, because God could have used anybody else, but he decided to use me as a vessel to help lead and guide his people. So I thank him for putting me in this space and time, and I thank the people for electing me. So I'm just happy to serve. Politics is, it's always an election that could always go wrong. So I'm just grateful to be in this space and time that I'm in right now. And wherever God leads me, I want to just continue to serve the people to the best of my people, because that's what I do it for. Those who took a chance, those who donated, those who voted for me, those who gave me a word of encouragement, and those, most importantly, who prayed for me to be where I am right now. So I want to just do the best that I can to serve them right and to make them look good. representative representing them at the State House, and do what needs to be done to help our communities and our schools.
I hear you speak of God in prayer, and you are a man of faith. Where do you worship?
Germantown Pike Church of Christ, where everybody is somebody.
So they can even meet you at church if they need to.
Yeah, but also to go to a lot of different churches around the area. I've been to throughout the county. You know, wherever we're talking about God, you know, I'm there.
You say you ran for the Senate to fight for Montgomery County, to stand up for abortion rights, invest in our schools, and bring good jobs to our community. And when will we be able to hold you accountable to those things you say you want to do? Anytime we see you, anytime we call you and say, I want to know what you've done.
So yeah, anytime you see me, of course you can reach out to me on social media, reach out to my State House office, Rep 38 at ohiohouse.gov. Now, of course, that's going to change come December 31st. So I don't currently have that information that I'll be using come next year, but you know, just reach out. I'll do my best to put my information out there wherever I can be of assistance, whether I'm able to help you or I may be able to direct you to somebody who is able to help you. We'll make sure we find a solution to an issue that you may have where it's just, hey, I want to just talk. I want to talk about some of the things that are going well. I'm here. Or if you want to get a hold of somebody, I make sure I'm that bridge to connect individuals to whoever they want to get a hold of. So I'm out and about. So whenever you see me, just make sure you say hi and you come say something, because I know I will say something to you.
Right, from that young man whose father, you kind of walked in his footsteps, getting involved in politics, working to support the community. I think that you've done a great job. I'm proud of you as well. All mothers would love to say, I have a son like Willis Blackshear Jr. You've done a great. You're a vessel, and that's important too. I really appreciate you doing that. And just to follow a couple questions, I know that preparing yourself, your education, I know played a big part in getting you prepared and ready. Talk about your educational background for a moment.
Yeah, went to Trotwood Madison High School, then went on to go to Wright State University to get my bachelor's in political science. And currently I am on the verge of graduating from the Ohio State University with my master's in business administration, my MBA in finance and marketing. So I'm a person that always loves to learn. So maybe this may be the end of my educational journey, but who knows? We'll see. But I'm always learning. And I always say, you know, a day wasted is a day where you didn't learn at least one thing new. So I think it's important that we at least learn one thing new and utilize it in whether you're using it today, using it tomorrow, or putting it in your back pocket. Just making sure you are learning something new that could be of use, not only for yourself, but for those around you as well.
And a thought for people that are interested in running for office one day, how would you say they should get started? What can they do?
Well, I believe, you know, look at the issues, look at the elected officials we have now, get involved on campaigns, find something that you're passionate about and make a plan and work that plan. I think it's very important. You have to realize it's going to take a lot of hard work, a lot of sacrifices. I made a lot of sacrifices throughout the years. I lost friends and, you know, but that was just what was necessary and what was needed for me to get to where I'm at right now. And I tell people, you have to find something you're passionate about, because when the going gets tough, you're going to have to remember your why. You're going to have to remember your why on why you wanted to get into this, why you wanted to make a difference. And that is what's going to propel you to either running for office and being in office, or, you know, being in a position of change. So I think it's very important to understand your why. Now, don't do it just to do it.
Yeah, not just to do it.
Some people want to do it for the glitz and glamour. You know, all that glitters is not gold. It's a lot that comes with it that a lot of people don't talk about. So make sure that you are truly passionate about what you're trying to do.
You mean you're not going to get rich being a state senator?
No. Not at all.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon on Issues and Opinions with Edna. Glad you're a friend, a new friend. Willis Blackshear Jr., State Senator-elect. Congratulations and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for tuning in to Straight Talk Live with renowned radio pioneer Edna Howell-Parrish, the program dedicated to presenting thought-provoking issues and opinions with the goal of challenging listeners to re-examine their assumptions and expand their opinions and give thought to new ideas and concepts to better their lives and the lives of others. Join us next week for another opportunity to participate in making the world better. So until next week, live your best life from your friends at Straight Talk Live and host Edna Howell-Parrish.